Welcome to Subcode, and today we are looking at another cup of code. We are looking at Spring Cloud, OpenFeign, or Feign client, as some of you might know it. Today we want to see how we can utilize Spring Boot to integrate to other microservices. So we have set up a couple of things, and we will get started from let's start on the website. So I do have the OpenFeign tutorial breakdown on the website as well, so please do check that out, and you can just also add some comments over there, and we can essentially address those accordingly. So in this tutorial we are going to cover what OpenFeign is, how we can make use of OpenFeign, and basically in our Spring Boot microservices, enable auto configuration and binding to the Spring environment within our architecture. So basically you can go through the tutorial. It will also share more details as to what OpenFeign is, and some bits and pieces of the project, what you need, and what we have actually made available to you. So OpenFeign is basically a declarative REST client. It is utilizing Spring Boot, so hence it's provided by Spring Cloud. So it allows ease of implementation by creating an interface for microservices we're aiming to consume, and we specify the required details for it, and Spring Boot handles the underlying calls, and we get the data that we expect. So essentially, in a nutshell, that's what OpenFeign is, and we'll see it in a few. So you can go through this tutorial, and you will see all of the stuff that you need to set up the project. We have the Git repo also as well, link over there. So if you click on that link, it will take you to the repository where we have the code available, so you can just pull the project and test it on your side as well. So without wasting any of your time, let's go through the Spring Initializer, and let's see how that looks like. So the Spring Initializer, as we all know, we have, for those that are always in the channel or always come back, we always have a Maven project. We use Java, and we always use the latest stable version of Spring Boot. And then on the metadata, com.zipcode, and the artifact is OpenFeign microservice. And then we just have our package name over there. We package it as a war, and we have Java 17. And then we just take Spring Web, we want to scaffold a REST controller so that we can call that API, and then it pushes the data to another microservice that we had. So on the previous video, we had a microservice that we created that is integrating with the RabbitMQ, and if you haven't checked that video, please do check it out, the RabbitMQ integration in Spring Boot. So we have that available also, and then we will basically use that microservice in the Feign client. So we want to have our REST controller call the microservice, and then basically we'll get our data back. So we'll see that in a few. Then we have Lombok, and then we have the dev tools for live reloads when we change our code or touch or update anything on our code. So that's what we have. And then OpenFeign basically is what we need for this implementation, and we need it available over there. So I'll also share the this link in the description down below, so please do check it out. Also, the tutorial link is also in the description down below, as well as the Git repository, so please do check those out, guys. And for now, we can jump onto the code. So let's go into the our IntelliJ, and this is how our IntelliJ looks like. So we have the application main class. So in the main class, we have an annotation which is enable Feign clients. So enable Feign clients, we'll go to the docs. So it scans for interfaces that declares their Feign clients via a Feign client annotation. So we'll see how that interface looks like in a few, and that basically configures our Feign client to start consuming a microservice. So let's see that right now. So this is the only annotation we need in the application main class, and then now we have to specify our Feign client. So our Feign client is something like this. So it will be an interface, and that interface will have that annotation at Feign client as it says on the documentation. This annotation for interfaces declaring that a REST client with that interface should be created. So it basically going to consume a REST client that has all of the endpoints that you specify in that interface, or the endpoints that you want to consume from that microservice. So if we look at the RabbitMQ microservice that we have, if I can just show you just a highlight, we just have one controller in the RabbitMQ microservice, as you can see here, and it basically has a post with the request body there available, and then it just publishes the data to a RabbitMQ, and then it handles that accordingly. But for now, we're not in this tutorial. This is just made available so that you can see that our Feign client will call this subscribe endpoint with the post, and basically send the data to this microservice. So our interface looks something like this. So the name of our Feign client is just subscription, and the URL is microservice.base URL. This is the base URL, like localhost 8080. That's the base URL that we provide here. And then the methods that we want to consume, obviously we have one in this microservice. We have a post mapping, which looks like this, and basically we can give it all the necessary details that we need, and we basically handle the call. So if, let's say, we have a get here, let's say we have a get mapping. So if we wanted a get mapping over there, and we're still using the microservice subscribe endpoint. So the microservice subscribe endpoint is the part of the endpoint that actually points to what we are looking for. So if you go to our application.yaml, you will see that the definitions are in here in the config. So the base URL is localhost 8080, and the subscribe endpoint is the actual endpoint that we want to get to in the microservice that we are consuming. So that's basically what we have, and we're pulling the base and the endpoint that we want on the on this client URL, and then the method itself respectively. So as you can see there, then we just specify that it consumes a JSON and it produces a JSON as well. So that's what it looks like. And then on the get mapping, if we had a get mapping here, we can just specify that get mapping, and then let's say here we just say get subscription, and then we specify the return type just like that. And because we've defined the return type, then the client will handle the request and the response, serialization and deserialization. It will handle all of that for us, and then we get our data as we expect. So the way that we will call this is to then go to actually, before we do that, just to show you something else, let's say here we want to specify like your authorization, and then we would have a HTTP at request header. Yes, at request header, let's say authorization, like that. Yeah, I think it's like that. So let's say this is that authorization, and then we would pass in, let's say we pass in like a string token, something like that, and then it basically it's basically going to handle that particular request header with that particular token that you have, and then when it goes to the API, it will consider that and basically proceed with your particular request. So that's what we can have. And then consuming all of these, we would then have to have a service or business logic implementation that calls this interface. And how we do that is in this integration service. So here we just have a service bin of integration, and then we auto wire the interface, which is the subscription Feign client, just like we have here, and then it will basically then be used in our business logic to say send subscription data. We pass in the payload that we want, and we just call that in here just like that. So Feign client.send subscription, and we will then pass all the necessary details that we need for this API call, and basically everything will be taken care of for us. We don't need to stress about anything else. So with, let's say with the get, so we'll say Feign client.get subscription, and let's say we pass in the payload just like that. Oh, actually we have a token, so let's just do, let's say let's say this valid token here. We'll pass in a valid token here, which is a type string, and then here we'll just expect a response just like that. So and just like this, we basically made an API call with our token and also our payload, and then we are awaiting a response over there. So essentially this is how the call would look like, and basically we are done. And this is not a valid call, so it's just for demo purposes, so we can take that out. And the other one is maybe our DTO. Let's show you our DTO. DTO has the ID, name, and channel, nothing fancy, only these three. And then we have our access modifiers over here. So it's just a POJO and with nothing interesting really. And then the last part of it is the home controller. So the controller that we'll be testing with just now in Postman is basically a REST controller, and we have a request mapping of OpenFeign, and we auto wire our integration service, and in our integration service we basically going to use it in our post mapping. In our post mapping we basically call the service.send subscription data. So when we call this guy, we send the data to our Feign integration, which is this one right here on the post mapping, and it will then call this other microservice. So I do have both of them running this side. So I do have both of them running this side, the OpenFeign project and the RabbitMQ project. So if we check, if I change the logs here, so now this is the OpenFeign logs, and then if I click again, you'll see this is the Rabbit microservice logs. So we are going to see the logs on the Rabbit microservice. So on this one we won't see anything, but let's go to the Postman so that you can see this in action. So we have our localhost 8088, that's where I'm running the OpenFeign microservice, and then I have the OpenFeign endpoint right here. Then we have our payload just like that. So if we do, let's say 88888, let's just do that, and then we say, can you please, can you please subscribe, and then channel at zip code, so something like that. Then we send this payload, and now when we go back to our logs, you will see this is RabbitMQ, this is the Rabbit microservice, and we just sent publish data, can you please subscribe, and this is the ID that we had, 888865543, and name is can you please subscribe. So essentially we called this microservice on our Postman, and it then went using Feign client. It went using Feign client to call the Rabbit microservice, which then publishes the data into a RabbitMQ, and essentially our integration is done by simply having all of this implementation right here. So I hope this is helpful to you guys, and short and sweet, and until next time, for now, could you please subscribe? Cheers.